The cold hum of the Arathi flagship Judicator Arca was the only sound that filled the cavernous command deck. Outside, the void stretched endless and black, punctuated only by distant stars and the shimmering glow of Earth, orbiting silently beneath them. For 500,000 years, the Judicator Arca had slept in hyperspace stasis, frozen in time since their last mission to the Blue World, an experiment they had seeded long ago, a test of evolution and obedience. Now, they had returned. Commander. Val Erden stood rigid at the observation port, his six-fingered hands clenched behind his back. His amber eyes narrowed as the first scans came in, scans that shattered the expectations of an empire accustomed to ancient backward planets. His voice echoed in the bridge, calm, but edged with disbelief. Report on the energy readings. Why is Earth different? Lieutenant Sareth's fingers danced across the hollow interface, her brow furrowing. The planet's surface is covered, with energy signatures unlike anything in our archives. There are artificial fields of power, magnetic, quantum, even temporal fluctuations. Our probe drones lost contact 5 minutes after entering orbit. They simply disappeared. A murmur rippled through the command crew. Disappearing probes were unheard of. The Arathi had ruled this sector for eons. No primitive world could defy them. Val's voice dropped low. Prepare a second wave of drones. I want full-spectrum scans. Everything. Surface, atmosphere, orbitals. This is no longer a routine inspection. The captain's mind raced. 500 millennia ago, Earth had been a simple petri dish for genetic experiments. The primitive hominids had been fragile, malleable, and easy to control. The Arathi had watched from afar as the species struggled to survive, expected to reign over them once the uplift completed. But something had changed. Deep in the observation chamber, High Scholar Gnarl's eyes scanned the streams of data flooding in. Ancient texts, relics, and genetic codes once stored in their vaults were now useless. Earth had rewritten itself in silence, evolving beyond any known parameters. He pointed to the holographic projection of the moon, where a strange structure had been detected. Commander, Narul's voice was steady but urgent. This monument, this is not of our construction. It is recent. The markings are a fusion of languages, some ancient, some alien. The message is cryptic. Val stepped closer. The glowing glyphs shifted before his eyes, coalescing into a phrase. We remember. You will too. A chill swept through the command deck. Narul's expression darkened. The phrase suggests awareness. Not only have they survived, they remember us. Then why haven't they welcomed us? Val asked bitterly. Narul hesitated. Because they fear us. The Arathi fleet loomed in orbit, ships gleaming with ancient craftsmanship. A single envoy vessel detached, cloaked in stealth, and descended toward the planet's surface. Its mission, to find the source of this power, to remind Earth of its place in the galactic order. But the planet was silent. No transmissions, no welcoming signals. The envoy passed over sprawling cities shimmering with light, a dazzling display of technology beyond the Arathi's understanding. Entire metropolises shifted shape, buildings rearranging like living organisms. Vast energy networks pulsed beneath, the crust invisible to scanners but tangible in the air. The envoy's sensors flickered as an invisible barrier activated, an artificial storm of quantum interference. The ship shuddered, alarms blaring. We are being scanned, the envoy captain reported. But the energy, it's not hostile, it's curious, a voice crackled from the bridge. Curious or cautious? They have been waiting. Moments. Later, the envoy vanished without a trace. Back on the flagship, Val's jaw tightened. The Arathi had always been the hunters, the masters of the stars. To be bested by a single world, unarmed, unseen, was a thought he could barely bear. Prepare for orbital blockade, Val commanded. We will isolate Earth and force them to reveal themselves. The order was met with silence. Narl spoke quietly. Commander, be careful. We may not be the rulers here any longer. Val shook his head. We are the ancient architects of this galaxy's order. No world escapes us, not even our own children. But even as he said the words, a cold fear gnawed at his core. Earth was no longer the helpless project they remembered. It was something else, something alive, watching, waiting, and it was ready. The envoy ship that vanished had not been destroyed, not in the way the Arothi feared. It had been captured, gently, silently, by unseen forces. Aboard the sleek vessel, Captain Aerith Kal stared at the flickering holoscreen in disbelief. Their stealth systems were offline, communications jammed. Their once trusted instruments had been rendered useless by something unlike any technology he had ever encountered. Outside the viewport, the sprawling metropolis below shimmered with ethereal light. Buildings pulsed rhythmically, as if breathing. The air itself seemed to hum with latent energy, causing Aerith's skin to tingle. Despite every precaution, he felt exposed, as if watched by countless eyes. "Report," he barked to his officers. Lieutenant Merrill's voice was strained. "Sir, our scanners can't penetrate the city's energy shield. Every attempt to send a probe is blocked by some form of quantum interference. But there's no aggression. The systems are defensive, almost sentient." Aerith clenched his fists. Sentient shields. This is beyond any known planetary defense. What kind of civilization has Earth become? A sudden burst of static crackled through the comm. Then, without warning, every display was flooded with a single message, projected in every language the envoy could decode. "We have grown." The words echoed in the silent bridge, eerie in their simplicity. "What is this?" Aerith whispered. "A challenge? A warning?" Before anyone could answer, the ship's hull vibrated as if the planet itself reached out to touch them. "Captain," Merrill said, voice tight, "I'm detecting multiple energy signatures approaching. Not ships, but drones. They're cloaked, but their movements are deliberate. They're scanning us." The envoy was trapped, thousands of kilometers away, deep within the Earth's command centers. The architects of this new world watched the intruders with cold precision. The planetary defense AI, known simply as sentience, coordinated every defensive action, not with brute force, but calculated grace. "Deploy the silent sentinels," a human voice ordered in a control room buried beneath the Andes. A squadron of sleek drones, invisible to conventional sensors, dispersed into the atmosphere. Their mission was not destruction, but containment, trapping the Arothi envoy in a web of electromagnetic silence. Sentience processed the ancient data the aliens carried. Genetic markers, historical records, long-forgotten signals. It analyzed the invaders' mental and physical patterns, predicting their next moves with terrifying accuracy. Above, the envoy's crew struggled. "We must contact command," Aerith said, but his comm systems were dead. "We're blind, deaf, and isolated." "Sir," Morell's fingers flew over the console. "I'm detecting a broadcast, not audio or video, but a quantum signal encoded within the planet's electromagnetic field. It's human," a calm voice interrupted from the shadows. Behind them, all heads snapped toward the sound. Out of nowhere, a figure appeared, clad in sleek armor woven with light-absorbing fibers. His eyes glowed faintly with an inner fire. "I am Captain Jace Thorne," the man said, voice steady and commanding. "And you are trespassing on a world that has long outgrown its masters." Aerith's first instinct was to reach for his weapon, but something in Jace's presence froze his hand. "How?" Aerith began. "Your probes never truly vanished. They were allowed to return. We have been watching you as much as you have." "Watched us," Jace said, stepping closer. "You expected a backward species. You found a civilization reborn from the ashes of your experiments." The envoy crew exchanged uncertain glances. The myths of humanity's struggle, their history erased from Arothi records, were suddenly tangible. Alive. Jace's gaze hardened. 500,000 years ago, you tried to mold us, to control us. You abandoned your children to their fate. But from your chains, we forged our freedom." Aerith swallowed, the weight of truth settling on him. "What do you want?" Respect, Jace replied simply, and a chance to show you what we have become. Back aboard the Judicator Arca, Commander Val Erden's frustration boiled over. Why no response? Why no attack? He demanded. Are they weak? Cowards? Narul's voice was cautious. No, Commander. This is a test. They are measuring us, probing our reactions. Then we will show them our strength, Val growled. Activate orbital blockade, seal their communications, force them to negotiate. Narul shook his head. If you provoke them, we risk war with a species that has surpassed our understanding. Val turned sharply. Then tell me, scholar, what do you suggest? Narul's eyes held a flicker of something deeper. Fear, perhaps hope. Patience. Observation. We may yet learn why Earth's power has awakened now, and whether it is a threat or an ally. Val's jaw clenched. Or our doom. That night, the planet below shimmered under a sky full of stars. From the shadows of the tallest towers, unseen watchers observed the alien ships in orbit. A child, eyes bright with wonder, whispered to the city around her, "They've come back, but we are no longer children." From the depths of Earth's digital consciousness, a single thought pulsed through sentience in all human minds alike. Let them come. Deep beneath the ice of Greenland, buried in a labyrinth of ancient tunnels and modern technology, a small group of humans gathered around a massive crystalline data core, an artifact older than any recorded history. The room buzzed softly with the hum of quantum processors decoding encrypted genetic memory strands stored within human DNA. Dr. Maya Solon, one of Earth's foremost genetic historians, stared at the projection hovering above the core. It was a swirling tapestry of images, emotions, and voices. Not just data, but living memories encoded in mitochondrial sequences passed down through generations. These aren't just fragments, Maya whispered. They're full stories, pain, loss, rebellion, the voices of the first humans who suffered under the Orothi uplift trials. Around her, the team listened as a recorded voice echoed through the chamber, distorted, fragmented but unmistakably human. We were cages made flesh. Tested, broken, discarded. You watched us die. And you left us to rise alone. Maya's fingers trembled as she touched the holographic timeline. It unfolded scenes from a forgotten past, vast laboratories where primitive humans were subjected to cruel experiments, genetic twists meant to accelerate evolution, but often resulting in agony and death. Entire populations wiped out because they failed the tests. Yet some survived, not because of Orothi design, but despite it. This is what they tried to hide, Maya said, voice thick with emotion. The Orothi weren't just creators. They were jailers. Her assistant, Jalen, frowned. If the Orothi knew this was buried in our genes, why haven't they destroyed it? Maya shook her head. They thought we were weak, that we had forgotten. But the memory never dies. Far above, orbiting silently, the Judicator Arca trembled under the weight of uncertainty. Commander Val Erden paced the command deck, his mind heavy with doubt. Narul, Val called. What do we truly know of this species now? They send envoys, quantum avatars no less, who speak of betrayal and chains. What is their purpose? Narul's eyes darkened with the burden of forbidden knowledge. The archives reveal half the story. But recent scans from our probes reveal more than just technology. Humanity carries within its cells the echoes of rebellion, genetic memories that bind their history in pain and fury. Their evolution was born from suffering. Val's voice was grim. Then we have returned to a planet that has grown wild, untamed, and dangerous. How long before they see us as enemies? Narul's gaze met Val's. Perhaps long ago. Back on Earth, in a clandestine meeting room beneath the city of New Beijing, leaders of the global coalition debated their next move. A massive, hollow map displayed the fleet of alien ships still trapped in orbit. The Orothi expect us to submit, said General Carolyn, her tone cold and resolute. They still see themselves as our masters. Submission is not an option, replied Dr. Elias Thorne, head of the Sentience AI network. We are the heirs of their mistakes. The chains they forged have been broken. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Maya Solon entered quietly, her face pale but determined. There is something you all need to understand. The memories in our DNA are more than history. They are a warning. What kind of warning? Kara asked. Maya stepped forward. The Arothi's genetic experiments were not benevolent. They were control mechanisms, designed to keep us dependent to suppress traits that threatened their empire. Elias nodded. Which means the resilience, the power we wield now, was born from defiance. They never anticipated that their prisoners would become warriors. Exactly, Maya said. And that is why the envoys speak with such caution. They recognize that we are no longer their children. We are their reckoning. In the shadows of the meeting room, a communication console beeped urgently. Elias answered. Commander Val requests immediate dialogue, the AI announced. Kara's eyes narrowed. We have the advantage, why talk? Elias shrugged. Because understanding our enemy is the first step toward survival. Maya's gaze sharpened. And because the past is not yet done with us. The communication channel opened. Val's stern visage appeared on the holoscreen, framed by the cold interior of the Judicator Arca. Leaders of Earth, he began, voice steady but cautious. You stand before an empire that shaped your origins. We seek to restore order to guide you back to your place in the galaxy. Kara stepped forward, voice firm. You abandoned us. You left us to die and grow alone. We owe you nothing. Val's eyes flickered with something unreadable. Your strength surprises us, but strength without control is chaos. We are chaos made flesh, Elias said, voice resolute. And we will not be controlled again. A tense silence followed. Narl whispered to Val. They do not just resist, they remember. And they intend to shape the future. Val exhaled slowly. Then we have much to fear. As the transmission ended, Maya looked at the others. This is not just a standoff. It is a reckoning of histories. Outside, the Earth continued its silent spin, a blue jewel glowing with the fury and hope of a species reborn. In the dark expanse of space, the Judicator Arca and its fleet prepared for what was to come, an encounter not with subjects but with heirs. Commander Val Erden stood on the bridge of the Judicator Arca, eyes locked on the holographic display before him. The orbital blockade was in place. Arothi warships formed a tight perimeter around Earth, each ship primed for battle. Yet, the planet below remained eerily still. No surrender, no overt attack. Val's frustration simmered beneath his calm exterior. His fleet had anticipated defiance, but what they received was something far more unsettling. Silence. And in that silence, an unseen power was moving. Lieutenant Sareth, status report, Val commanded. Sareth's fingers flew over the controls. Commander, all our systems are operating at peak efficiency. Our energy weapons are fully charged, but our engines are fluctuating. Fluctuating? Val frowned. Explain. There's an interference pattern disrupting our propulsion and power distribution, she said, eyes scanning the data. It's subtle but pervasive. No weapon discharge yet, but it's crippling our systems. We're losing mobility. Val's jaw clenched. Can we isolate the source? Sareth shook her head. It's everywhere. The entire orbital network is affected. It's like the planet itself is generating the interference. Impossible, Val muttered. No world can project that kind of field without massive infrastructure. Narul stepped forward, his voice grave. Earth's defense is not conventional, Commander. They do not fight with ships and missiles. They fight with control. Suddenly, the fleet shuddered as power fluctuations rippled through the command deck. The Judicator Arca's engines stuttered, its weapons temporarily offline. A cold wave of dread spread among the officers. Status! Val barked. Sareth's voice was strained. We've lost engine thrust by 20%. Weapons! Offline for 10 seconds and counting. This is a systemic failure. Signal jamming? Val asked. No, Commander. This is more than jamming. It's a suppression field operating at quantum levels. We are trapped. Across Earth, In a command center beneath the Sahara, General Kara Lynn watched the Arathi's distress signals with satisfaction. "Deploy the next phase," she ordered. At her command, the sky above the cities erupted, not with bombs, but with a shimmering web of invisible energy. Invisible drones flooded the space between Earth and orbit, weaving a net of quantum interference that silently strangled the alien fleet. "Silent sentinels are engaging," Elias Thorne reported. "Their electromagnetic fields disrupt Arathi. Propulsion and weapons. It's a siege without violence." Kara smiled. "We do not need to destroy them. We just need to show them we are not vulnerable." Back on the Judicator Arca, panic simmered beneath the officers' disciplined faces. "Commander, the blockade is failing," Sareth reported. "If this continues, we'll be drifting helpless in orbit." Val slammed his fist on the console. "Order all ships to hold formation and focus on emergency repairs." Narul's gaze was distant. "This is not a battle of ships or weapons. It is a battle of will and knowledge." "Then we will respond in kind," Val said. Though doubt shadowed his words, he turned to the communications officer. "Send a message to Earth. Demand they cease this interference or face annihilation." The reply came quickly. No words, only a haunting broadcast. Across every channel in the galaxy, the following message played, simultaneously in every known language and a dozen unknown tongues: "You will learn humility." The phrase resonated through the Arathi fleet, seeping into their minds like a cold wind. In orbit, the Judicator Arca's AI struggled to interpret the message. "Commander," the AI intoned, "the phrase is not a threat but a statement of fact. It implies a lesson." Val stared at the screen. "A lesson from a species we uplifted and abandoned." He felt the weight of history pressing down on him, the chains forged by their ancestors now breaking free with quiet ferocity. On Earth, Captain Jace Thorne stood overlooking a holographic map of the Arathi fleet. His eyes gleamed with fierce pride. "We do not fight their way," he said to the assembled human leaders. "Their ships are mighty, but their arrogance blinds them. Our weapons are the unseen, the silent siege." A young lieutenant approached. "Sir, the fleet's engines are failing faster than predicted. At this rate, they won't hold orbit for long." Jace nodded. "Good. We do not seek their destruction, only to remind them of who holds the true power." Behind him, the sentience. AI pulsed in quiet harmony with Earth's defenses. It was a network of minds, human and machine, working as one, weaving the invisible net that kept the ancient invaders at bay. As the hours passed, the Arathi fleet grew weaker, caught in a grip that no weapon could break. Val paced the bridge, his mind racing. The ancient certainty of dominance had crumbled in a day. Earth was no longer a world to conquer. It was a force that demanded respect. "Prepare for contingency," he ordered. "If diplomacy fails, we fight." But deep inside, he knew this battle was unlike any other. It was not of fire and blood, but silence and shadow. And in that silence, Earth's true power waited. That night, as Earth's cities glittered like jewels beneath the stars, the planet itself seemed to breathe. Invisible energy flowed beneath the surface, a quiet warning to all who dared challenge the heirs of the uplifters. The Arathi fleet remained trapped, helpless in orbit, silent sentinels themselves, watched by a civilization reborn. And somewhere, in the depths of space, a voice whispered through the dark, "Let them learn humility." Commander Val Erden sat alone in his private quarters aboard the Judicator Arca, staring into the swirling depths of space. The distant glow of Earth's cities below was both mesmerizing and maddening. The planet had defied their expectations, shattered their dominion, and now held their fleet captive in a silent siege. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The door slid open, and High Scholar Narul entered, his expression grave. "Commander," Narul began, "there is unrest among the fleet." Val didn't turn. "Unrest? I see nothing but discipline." Narul stepped forward, lowering his voice. "Discipline on the surface, yes, but beneath, doubt grows. Many question the wisdom of this campaign. Our generals fear Earth's power, but some see opportunity in retreat. Val's jaw tightened. Retreat is defeat. We were born to rule. Narul shook his head. Perhaps some among us believe Earth has become more than a mere subject, that we cannot govern what we cannot understand. Val finally looked up, eyes blazing. Then let them speak openly. I will remind them who commands the stars. Elsewhere, in the fleet, Admiral Trakvesh convened a secret council aboard the Vindicator, one of the largest warships. The blockade weakens, Trakvesh said, his voice harsh. Our ships are crippled by that invisible net. Supplies are running low, morale lower. A grizzled officer spoke up. We have faced strong opponents before, but this is a new kind of enemy. Exactly, Trakvesh replied. And yet we hesitate to strike, to risk escalating this into all-out war. Another voice, calm but firm, added, There is wisdom in patience, but also in knowing when to withdraw. We cannot afford to lose the fleet to pride. Trakvesh slammed his fist on the table. We were sent to reclaim our legacy, not to flee like cowards. The room grew tense. Back on Earth, General Carolyn monitored the transmissions intercepted. From the Arothi fleet, she watched the subtle cracks forming in the alien command structure with satisfaction. They're beginning to fracture, she told Elias Thorne. Their unity is breaking under pressure. Elias nodded. Our silent siege is effective, but the real battle is psychological. If they turn on themselves, our fight will be half won. Maya Solon frowned. We should be cautious. Desperation makes enemies unpredictable. Commander Val stood on the bridge once more, addressing his officers. This campaign has tested our strength and our will, but I will not tolerate defeat. He turned to Narul. Prepare a message for the fleet. Remind them of our heritage, our purpose. We must rally before we fracture. Narul bowed. As you command. Hours later, the message echoed through the fleet's communication channels. We are the architects of civilizations, the makers of worlds. To falter now is to betray all we have built. Stand firm, or fall as dust. The response was mixed. Some officers rallied, their loyalty renewed. Others whispered of the futility of the mission. On Earth, Captain Jace Thorne stood before a council of leaders. The Arothi believe they still hold the power of gods, he said. But gods can be challenged. We must prepare for their next move. Carolyn nodded. We will hold the siege, but if they break through, our defenses must be ready. In the depths of space, the Judicator Arca's system stabilized briefly. Val allowed himself a moment of hope, but as he gazed out at the planet below, a cold certainty settled over him. Earth had changed the rules of engagement, and the old Empire might not survive the game. Commander Val Erden paced the dimly lit corridor of the Judicator Arca, his thoughts as turbulent as the void outside. The cracks in the Arothi Empire were no longer whispers. They were fractures, visible and widening. His own officers glanced nervously, their loyalty tested by uncertainty. Suddenly, his personal calm sparked to life. A voice low and urgent filtered through. Commander Erden, this is Captain Vashra of the Silent Talon. We request a confidential meeting. Val's brow furrowed. Vashra was a renowned tactician known for her unorthodox methods. And recent silence, curiosity, and suspicion warred within him. Proceed to the conference deck immediately, he replied. The conference room was stark, illuminated by the soft glow of holo displays. Captain Vashra waited, her expression guarded. Commander, she began, the fleet is fracturing, but not just because of fear. There are those among us who question the legitimacy of this campaign. Some argue Earth should be left alone. Val's eyes narrowed. Treason? Not yet, Vashra said. But it's growing. And there's more. I've intercepted communications from a faction within the fleet that seeks to negotiate with Earth. Val's heart pounded. Negotiate? With a species we uplifted and abandoned? They see us as obsolete, Vashra said bitterly. Our empire is built on assumptions of dominance that Earth no longer accepts. Some believe it's time to adapt or perish. Val paced, his mind racing. And you bring this to me because? Because I believe we can use this, Vashra said, eyes sharp. We can open a dialogue, not from weakness, but to buy time, and understand their true power. If we fail, we fracture completely. Val stared at her. The choice was a bitter pill. Risk exposing their vulnerabilities or be consumed by internal collapse. Meanwhile on Earth, Captain Jace Thorne stood atop the skyscraper that housed the Global Defense Command, watching the alien fleet trapped. Above, a council of Earth's leaders debated fiercely. We must not show weakness, General Carolyn insisted, but neither can we afford a drawn-out war. Maya Solon, worn but resolute, added, The Orothi are not a single enemy. Their unity is fragile. If we can reach those who question the campaign, perhaps we can hasten their collapse. Elias Thorne nodded. Dialogue could save countless lives, but trust is a currency in short supply. Jace's gaze hardened. I will prepare to open channels, but only on our terms. Back aboard the Judicator Arca, Val authorized the delicate communication. Open a secure, encrypted channel to Earth, he ordered. We will speak, but on our terms. The message sent rippled through the silent void. We wish to parley. Earth's response was swift but cautious. The leaders agreed to the talks, wary of possible traps. The first meeting was held in orbit, an unprecedented assembly aboard a neutral station built centuries ago for interstellar diplomacy. Val and Jace faced each other across the conference table, two commanders shaped by different histories but bound by a shared past. You speak of peace, Jace said quietly. Yet your ships block our world. Why now? Val's voice was steady. Because your strength threatens the order of the galaxy. We seek to understand if you are a new ally or a new enemy. Jace leaned forward. We are neither. We are the consequence of your mistakes, and we will no longer be controlled. The conversation unfolded with tension and restraint. Memories were shared, histories confronted. Both sides grappled with the legacy of the past and the uncertain future. But as the talks progressed, a deeper truth emerged. Earth's power was not just in technology or weapons, but in its unity, human and machine, past and present. Val felt it keenly, a respect tinged with fear. Later, in the shadows of the station, Vashra met with a group of dissenters from the Orothi fleet. We must choose our path, she said. To continue this war is to invite destruction. But to embrace change is to embrace survival. The murmurs of agreement were cautious but growing. As the meeting adjourned, Captain Jace Thorne looked out the viewport at the distant blue planet below. We have much to rebuild, he said softly. But first we must face the shadows of rebellion, both in them and in ourselves. The neutral station hung in orbit like a fragile promise, a slender thread of hope between two worlds on the brink of war. Commander Val Erden and Captain Jace Thorne sat opposite each other in the cold, sterile chamber, the silence thick with unspoken grievances and tentative trust. Your species has changed, Val began, voice low but firm, stronger, unpredictable, but still chained by the past you refuse to acknowledge. Jace's gaze didn't waver. We carry the past in our bones, yes, but we choose our future. Not as subjects, but as sovereigns. Val leaned back, exhaustion flickering in his eyes. You speak of sovereignty, yet your world is fragmented. Factions ready to tear it apart. Jace's voice grew fierce. Better broken and free than whole in chains. The conversation was cut short by a sudden alarm. The station's AI interrupted, voice calm but urgent. Unidentified vessel detected, approaching at high velocity. Both commanders stood instantly, eyes locked on the viewport. A sleek black ship broke through the shadows, faster and more advanced than any Orothi or human design. An assassin? Val hissed. The ship docked with alarming precision. From its hull a figure emerged, cloaked, enigmatic, and radiating authority. I am Talix, the stranger announced, voice layered with age and power. I represent the ancients. Those who uplifted your species millennia ago. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Talix's presence was a shock to all. Neither human nor Orothi had seen an ancient in eons. Their technology, their motives were legends whispered only in hidden archives. "I have come to judge," Talix continued, eyes piercing both commanders. "Your world is a reflection of our failure and our hope." Val's fists clenched. "Then judge us, but do not expect mercy." Jace stepped forward. "We are not your experiments anymore. We are free." Talix regarded them both with a mixture of sorrow and pride. "You carry the scars of the past," the ancient said. "Chains forged in arrogance, cruelty, and fear, but also the spark of defiance and hope." The chamber grew heavy with revelation. Talix extended a device, an orb of swirling light. "Within this is the original code of your uplift, the blueprint for power and peace." Both commanders reached for it, but Talix stopped them. "This is a test to see if you can rise beyond your origins, beyond your grudges." As the orb pulsed, visions flooded their minds. Ancient laboratories, battles of gods and men, the rise and fall of empires lost to time, the true cost of power, and the price of freedom. Jace gasped, clutching his head. This is what they hid from us." Val's eyes widened. "We were not creators. We were caretakers. Prisoners." Talix nodded. "And now you must decide, repeat the past, or forge a new destiny." The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, the Orothi fleet twitched with uncertainty. The unity that had held for millennia now fractured into chaos. Some saw hope in Talix's arrival. Others saw only doom. Back on Earth, Maya Solon and Elias Thorne watched the transmissions, their faces pale but determined. "This changes everything," Maya whispered. In the chamber, Val and Jace made a decision that shocked all. To merge their knowledge, their strength, and their people's fate. "We will use the code," Jace declared, "not to dominate, but to protect." Val hesitated, then nodded. "Together, as equals." Talix's eyes gleamed. "Then your reckoning has begun." As the orb's light enveloped them, a surge of energy rippled through space, a new dawn for Earth and the stars beyond. The ancient chains shattered, and a new empire of hope was born. The light from the ancients' orb pulsed like a heartbeat, weaving through the minds of Commander Val Erden and Captain Jace Thorne. It was not just knowledge, but a living legacy, an inheritance from those who had once shaped their destinies and now entrusted them with the future. When the glow finally faded, silence reigned. Val looked at Jace, the weight of centuries evident in his eyes. "We are no longer enemies." Jace nodded slowly. "Nor are we slaves to the past." Talix's voice broke the quiet. "You have chosen the path of unity. But with this choice comes responsibility, to your people, to your worlds, and to the legacy of the ancients." Back on Earth, the news of the unprecedented alliance spread quickly. Humanity held its breath as broadcasts showed the first joint mission. Orothi and human engineers working side by side to repair the damage to Earth's orbital defenses, sharing technology and stories alike. General Kara Lynn stood watching the progress, her expression one of cautious optimism. "We have proven our strength, not through war but through cooperation." Elias Thorne nodded. "The old rivalries will not vanish overnight. But today, we have taken the first true step toward peace." Within the Orothi fleet, the shift was even more profound. Admiral Trakvesh, once the fiercest opponent of any retreat, now found himself mediating between fractious factions. "Your defiance," Val had told him days earlier, "was the crucible. Now we forge something new." Trakvesh grunted, but conceded. "If we are to survive, we must evolve. The galaxy will never bow to weakness, but strength can wear many faces." The joint Earth-Orothi Council convened aboard the rebuilt station. Jace and Val stood together, representatives of two civilizations once torn apart but now bound by a common vision. "We do not erase history," Jace declared. "We learn from it," Val added, "and we build a future where no race is master or slave." In the quiet of the station's observation deck, Jace turned to Val. "What now?" he asked. Val smiled faintly. "Now we teach the galaxy what true power means. Not domination, but resilience, unity, and hope." But the legacy of the ancients was not merely technological. As the orb's influence settled, subtle changes blossomed, improvements in cognition, empathy, and understanding. The human-Arothi hybrid technologies began to evolve, blending biology and machine in new, unforeseen ways. Among the first to benefit was young Lieutenant Mira Solon, daughter of Maya Solon. Gifted with newfound abilities of perception and communication, she became a symbol of this new era, a bridge between worlds. One evening, as the twin suns set over Earth's horizon, Mira stood watching the stars. "Grandmother," she whispered into the night sky. "We have come so far," Maya smiled beside her. "The stars are no longer a barrier, but a promise." Far beyond the borders of the old empires, the ripples of change began to spread. Other civilizations, once silent observers of humanity's rise, now reached out, with tentative hands. The galaxy was waking. In the end, Earth's power had not been in weapons or force, but in its indomitable spirit, a spirit that refused to be conquered or controlled, and instead embraced freedom and growth. The Arothi returned to the stars not as conquerors, but as partners. The legacy of their ancestors was finally fulfilled, not in chains but in freedom, and the universe, vast and infinite, waited for the next chapter. The end.